Full filter service and spark plugs on the Renault Modus 1.2. I'm going to start with the oil and filter. So we're underneath the car, jack the front end up, and we've got a little under tray to remove just 10mm bolts. For the sump plug, we've got a square drive 8mm, so this is just a little bit smaller than a leave the oil to drain out. Change the sump plug washer and refit the sump plug and tighten to 20 Newton meters. Oil filter now, just behind the sump. Not in a very good position, unfortunately, but thankfully this one appears to have been left pretty loose, so it's been easy enough to undo. It appears to be a very good way to remove that without making a complete mess. Smear some oil on the seal on the new filter. Refit and tighten until the seal is touching, and then you'll read on the filter, it'll say to tighten the filter another 3/4 of a turn. You can pretty well gauge these by hand. Clean up all the oil with brake cleaner. The oil capacity is 4 litres, so you could top it up at 3.8, 3.9 and then check the level. Refit the filler cap, start and run the engine for a few minutes. check underneath for oil leaks. Once you're happy that there aren't any oil leaks, refit the under tray and drop the car back down onto the ground so that we can check the level. Now the engine's been off for a few minutes, grab the dipstick, clean it, refit it. It does look to have a rather weird setup where the dipstick has a bend in it. I'll try and get the dipstick back in the hole. Put it all the way in. And this time we can check the level. You'll see about 3/4 of the way up from the minimum mark. That's pretty good. We'll probably add a tiny bit more, but that's a good level. Next I'm going to do the spark plugs. The engine has this cover, scuttle, that covers pretty much everything. But these 4 screws on the top, I'm not sure what they should be standard. These are T20 and T25 torque screws. I'm going to remove this part first. And then underneath we've got 4 10mm bolts to remove this part of the plastic. The HT leads here. We do have this air pipe on the top of the engine, which might be easy enough to remove, but we might be able to. We might manage without removing it. Let's have a look. I'm going to opt not to remove the pipe on the top. I'm just going to remove the second HT lead completely. The third and the fourth one aren't an issue. The spark plugs are iridium type, so they need a narrow wall socket to fit in. So a bit smaller than the standard plugs that you get. So to tighten the new spark plug, turn it until it's seated fully and If it doesn't have a washer, you just need to tighten it a 1/16 of a turn. And if it does have a washer, you need to turn it another half a turn. So these do have the separate compression washer. So got it at the bottom. And let's turn it another half a turn. So quarter, half. I'll do the same with the other three. Refit the HT leads, if you can remember the order. Must be number 4, 3, 1, and then 2 that we took out. You'll hear them all click when they're fitted correctly. Start the car quickly just to check that it's running correctly. The air filter is located at the back here, behind the battery. There are 2 tabs at the side. You press them in and pull the cap off. Then the air filter itself is in this little carrier. Make sure the sides are pressed down into the carrier. Put the carrier back into position and notice that the carrier lifts up and these pieces on the lid lock it up into position. So if you're struggling to get this back on, it's because the carrier's sat too far down. Now you've finished in the engine bay, you can refit the scuttle and component that goes over the engine. So finally the cabin filter, which is the type that includes the cover. The cover is part of the new filter. We're just in the passenger footwell. Can't get mixed up with the orientation. You might need to fold down the top of the filter to get it in. Doesn't appear to be latching very well, but that is in position. To reset the service light on the Renault Modus, turn the ignition on and flick through until the service is showing on the dashboard. Now, depending on how many miles it is until the next service is due, this message may be slightly different, but obviously this one says service due now. Once you've got it on service due now, hold the bottom button for 10 seconds until it's flashing, and I think that wasn't even 10 seconds, that's already reset. And that has extinguished the spanner light as well. That's all you need to do.